What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. In this video, I want to do something a little bit different for The Mandalorian. This is going to be kind of half review, half talking about Baby Yoda's new power. Don't want to necessarily spoil it in the title of the video, but I definitely want to have a serious discussion about it. But I didn't want to leave out my thoughts on Chapter 7, The Reckoning. So I'm going to very, very quickly go over what I thought about the episode, and then we're going to jump into his power. I thought this episode was actually really solid. I saw a lot of people saying it was another very, very strong episode, and I definitely agree. Supporting cast, and I've talked about in every single episode, you need the supporting cast for every episode to act off of Mando, and I think they did a phenomenal job. Even bringing back Sarah was actually a really good idea. She was actually really awesome. Definitely liked their chemistry a whole lot more and liked her acting. I think it just took a little while for me to kind of get into her character, but her character did really well. Not a ton to talk about with the overall episode. Is very much obviously setting up in episode 8, but the cliffhanger ending, and this is going to be talking about spoilers, especially when it gets to Baby Yoda's powers, setting up what could be a phenomenal episode 8. Really shocking. I didn't necessarily think that is how it was going to go. Baby Yoda using a couple of the powers. I love the use of Force choke and how that was pretty frightening, right? It's like, oh man, like, hey, she's on our side, like we're just arm wrestling. So there were a couple moments like that I thought were really solid as well. Overall, I think just a really solid episode. I don't think it was like the most amazing thing ever. It didn't have the feel, I think, of episodes 3 and 6, which I'd still say are the two best episodes. I'd probably put this third on my list, definitely. Just the fact that it's setting up something. We obviously had a major death at the end of this episode. And emotional, things are definitely moving into place for a really big ending. So I have, there was a lot to like about this episode. Definitely didn't disappoint. I would not call it bad. I'd say this is a very good episode, right below episodes 3 and 6. Now, let's talk about this. So this is going to get into spoilers because I really do want to have a discussion on his powers, the ability to heal. And it's not just the spoiler on that. Obviously, in all these reviews, we talk about spoilers. It's the fact that, and this is spoiling episode 9. And here's the deal. It's only spoiling one thing about it. I'm not going to say how this character uses this ability, but this does happen. So if you guys really don't want to know anything, but at this point, I feel like a lot of people know about the leaks. A lot of people, people have seen it early and people are talking about it. So, okay, so Rey can force heal. And so the idea for this episode was obviously to introduce Baby Yoda force healing to make it more acceptable. And here's the deal. Here's where I honestly stand on it, is I don't know where I stand on it. I feel like I get it. I understand what they're trying to do. I think the plainest way I can put it is they are, again, like they're making it more like apparent that this can happen, that Jedi, or people that have the Force, I should say, are able to do things like this. That for some reason, nobody's ever been able to do it before. I guess we did hear, Palpatine did mention that Plagueis was able to, he manipulate the midichlorians, and that's obviously how Anakin and how maybe somebody else was created. And so in that way, and can stop people from dying. So I guess the ability to do that has been around, but we've never seen it done. And the fact that Rey is going to use this ability multiple times in the movie, another character is going to use something around the same kind of level, but actually even more, that I won't spoil that, and now Baby Yoda uses it. I get that they're just trying to make it like this is a thing that can happen. You can use the ability, you can use the Force to literally be able to heal people. At the same time, I'm struggling if I want to accept it. And I know, and you could look at me and you could say, like, that's just a stupid thing to say. It's just honestly my opinion. If you guys want to just flat out accept and be like, okay, that's just how things are, that's totally cool. It's just, in my opinion, when you don't see something for this long, and I know that maybe contradicts what I've said in the past, and I have said, and I do stand by this, in order for a franchise to expand, and especially a franchise like Star Wars that's been around for so many decades even, which most franchises can never say that. But for a franchise that's been around this long, if you're going to continue it and you're going to expand it, you're going to need to add things in that maybe don't make sense all the time, but because you're trying to expand the universe, because you're trying to expand, characters, abilities, stories, all like timelines, all these different things, you're gonna start, I feel, messing up, or not even messing up, but like upsetting people because you're kind of contradicting or you're doing things that just seem out of place, you're eventually going to get to that point. And honestly, I feel like with this new trilogy of movies, that's all they've done. Now, episode 7 played it actually really, really safe, but then episode 8, definitely started to take things in different directions that a lot of people were not happy with, myself included. Now, that's not necessarily like they introduced a new power that people are like, oh my God, how could you do that? No, I think they made decision-making choices that were really, really bad in 8, and it sounds like they did the same thing for 9, but we're not, this isn't talking about that. So, like, I want to accept it, and I get what they're going for, and because of that, I guess I'm slightly more okay with the idea that Rey can do it. I mean, before, I didn't know what, we knew that there was going to be a connection between this episode and episode 9. They had said that. They had said that actually since, like, the very beginning. So we knew it was going to be something. I thought it was going to be, like, a character or, like, a thing. I didn't think it was going to be that. I didn't think it was going to be an ability. I like how it was used in this episode. The way Rey uses it, I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's just, I feel like it's just a basic principle that if you can heal people, if that's just something you can go around doing now, that makes them pretty darn powerful, right? Does that, and that, to me, it's like a question. When I think of it, maybe because I've been doing this channel for so long, I think of it as like a question for you guys. Like, does that make Baby Yoda too powerful? Does the ability to heal people make Rey? Now, Rey has many more abilities than even that. So Rey already, I think, is too powerful. But now she can force heal. Does that make her too powerful? And I don't want to spoil it because it's a huge, huge thing at the end of the movie. But let's just say that the ability of force healing gets taken to the next level at some point, and maybe you can envision what that means. And I won't say the characters. I won't even say who does it. But, if you can put all of that together, or if you just already know, I know there's some people that watch these videos that probably don't want to get spoiled. So that's as far as I'll go into kind of teasing it. At what point does it become like overkill? Like, does it become too much that you can do all that, you can force heal, and then you can kind of do like the next thing that you think of when you think of force healing? What would be the next step? Does that make you too powerful, or the ability to do it in the future? Like, where do the movies go from here? Like, I get it. Like, if you take out Baby Yoda, now, obviously that can't be done, so the characters are still vulnerable. But like, if Mando gets shot in the next episode and he's like close to dying, am I gonna feel worried about him? Because if Baby Yoda's nearby and he's able to do it, I mean, I guess you have to touch them probably. So if Baby Yoda is nearby, should I be worried? I probably wouldn't be, right? But, well, firstly, he's our main character, but secondly, like, Baby Yoda can just patch him up and it's no big deal. And I feel like that's the biggest problem with this ability, is it opens up that. And I get it. It's space adventure, and it's like larger than life, and it's all of these things that you have to suspend your disbelief with a lot. I mean, I get that, right? It's Star Wars. A lot of things you just say, well, it's because of this, or they didn't even explain it, but you can envision it's because of this. But like something like that, I feel like it's like a cheat code. It really is. So something like that, I feel like kind of takes you out of it a little bit, and it's not supposed to be real life. We're not supposed to think of it, in 2019 or 2020, whenever you're going to watch this, right? We're not supposed to think of it now because it's a completely different thing. But at the same time, if you have somebody that can just run around, touch them, and they get to 100 health again, think of it like a video game, then like, does it take the dire ability away from the show to make things seem like, you should be worried about stuff? That's just talking about the show. I don't know how this impacts the show going forward. I don't know if he'll ever do this again, but see, that in itself would also be a problem, right? Because then if there is a character hurt and Baby Yoda is nearby, but he doesn't heal them, well then, like, why? Like, did you just show it to us because you wanted to get us ready for 9? And that arguably could be the biggest thing with the television show, with The Mandalorian. If they don't ever use it again, it's like, well, then you kind of just did it to set up 9. But now, like, what? Baby Yoda can't heal anymore, and why isn't he just healing people? And you could say, well, it's because of this or because of that. Yeah, I'm sure you'll be able to find a situation, though, where what I'm saying, you can make up excuses. Well, they were under fire, they were running away, he can't, like, put his hand when he's trying to, stuff like that you could say. But I guarantee you there will be a time period where he'll be able to do it again, and he won't. I feel like that is actually what's going to eventually, maybe not episode 8, maybe like season 2, episode 5, that situation will happen. But like, I feel like that'll bug me. And then in terms of the movie, Well, we know Rey can do it. We know that they could actually come back. Rey could come back in future movies. Kathleen Kennedy has said as much. So, like, all right, so if they bring her back, should I be afraid? Should I be worried about any character that's hanging out with her, or if she's a mentor to somebody? Should I ever be worried about that other person? Again, yeah, you take Rey out, and then suddenly, but like, why can't anybody else do it now? Baby Yoda can do it, Rey can do it. So now the question is, all of these people that are Force sensitive, can they all eventually do that? So it's not even just Rey in the future. If they introduce brand new Jedi in the next couple movies, well, can they Force heal like right off the bat? Do they have to learn it? And then if they do, well, now you have like a squad that's kind of invincible, right? So I feel like it's going, and that's my biggest thing with it. Like watching the show, I think it's easy to skim over it and be like, it happened, I'm gonna move on. Like I was thinking about it for a couple minutes after it happened, but then the episode kept going and it was really, really solid. I was like, okay, I'm happy, I'm invested. Like I'm just gonna kind of gloss over it. But then if you think about it more, I feel like the ability to Force heal is kind of a problem in the general, like, how you build a TV show or a movie. I feel like it gets in the way because you have that power. It's weird. And maybe I'm wrong. Superman even, or like a Superman game has always had that problem where like, well, he's too powerful. Maybe you have to make him less powerful, and that's always kind of been the thing with Superman, right? Is he's so powerful, you either have to like elevate his enemies up towards him, like up to his same level, or you have to weaken him, or there has to be a reason why he can't do things, but then like you kind of have to stretch that out and be like, well, is that a good enough reason? And honestly, it's kind of becoming the same for Jedi in Star Wars. You either have to weaken them somehow, you have to put the enemies on the same level as them, you have to give them excuses for why they can't do things. Maybe like in episode 1 when they did that Force run, remember in the when they first boarded that separatist like frigate, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, remember how they Force ran and that never appeared ever again, in the movies? It's like, well, why didn't they do that again? And that's kind of like, yeah, it's one of the 1,000 stupid things that happen in the prequels, but it is something that you can go back and think of and be like, well, yeah, that never, like, they haven't even done that in the sequels or in this new trilogy. So stuff like that, I feel like, does become a problem at some point, and I get it. And like, if people say, if this video does big and people are saying stuff, I get it. You have to do stuff like this eventually to continue a franchise, to grow a franchise, to build it. But at the same time, that doesn't excuse you. It's not going to immediately come with, oh, we're all just going to accept what you're doing because you kind of have to. No, you didn't have to do Force heal. You could have done something else, right? So, and again, yes, I get it. The ability to do that has been talked about. It's never really been shown in movies, but it's definitely been talked about, especially in lore of Star Wars. I get that it's technically not new, but seeing it, it's 100% new. And I think it does bring with it a lot of potential, not necessarily guaranteed, but potential problems going forward. So guys, let me know in the comments below. What do you think? What do you think of the ability to Force heal? What did you think of today's episode? What do you think about how this could affect episode 9, how this could affect future Star Wars movies? Let me know all of that stuff in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. We're going to be covering The Mandalorian next week as well, and then also the season finale review I will be doing as well next Friday, and we'll do a couple fun videos about the end of the season as well next weekend. So lots of Mandalorian content coming up, tons of Star Wars content in general coming up on our channel, and we hope to see you guys there.